of course, I greatly appreciate you guys hopping on here. Something that I kind of stumbled upon in the midst of this past week was an article that was written by Nick Sabato of the Lockport Union Sun and Journal, detailing his thoughts on whether Bills fans, Sabres fans deserve an explanation from Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres owner Terry Pegula. And it's a very good article. I'm not on here to trash a writer. I'm not on here to, slam the piece that he put work in and dedicated time to. That's not what I'm doing here. But I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate and just kind of throw in my take on this article and kind of where I stand within it to provide a little bit of an alternate lens on what Nick Sabato was referencing in this article. And I'm running some errands. I thought, I'm going to hop on here. I'm going to put my opinion out there on this matter. So I understand just as well as anybody that Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills fans are as frustrated, arguably, as any fan base in sports. The Bills have not gotten to where they should have gone these last few years with Josh Allen and company. And the Buffalo Sabres have been, for the lack of a better term, a dumpster fire in the National Hockey League for the last decade plus. There's been many coaches that have come in and out, many GMs, many players. Eras have ended before they really ever began, especially the Jack Eichel era in terms of the expectations versus reality of that situation. So I know all that. I've lived through it. I know that very well. I get why fans would be frustrated, but picking who is at blame, pointing the finger is very commonplace in sport. We should do that, especially when we don't get the results that we want. But pointing the finger at the right person is really important. Pointing the finger in the direction of the person that should be at blame the most is really what sets the tone for facts and getting somewhere within this. So the article basically says that Terry Pegula owes the fans an explanation. And I'm just going to say this as plainly as I can. I don't need an explanation from Terry Pegula because Terry is not the sports czar. He's not the guy running the teams. He's not the guy that is behind the curtain as the great and powerful Oz running the show. That's just not the case. And most Sabres, most Bills fans know that due to the fact that he put people in place to make those decisions. He owns the team. He doesn't necessarily run the team. So I want to hear answers to questions. I want to ask questions and get answers to those questions from those that are actually in positions of running the organizations. The Brandon Beans, the Kevin Adams, the Don Granados, the Sean McDermotts. Terry owing us an explanation would be like pulling teeth because at this current point, yeah, he oversees things, but he's not running the show. He's not involved in the trade decisions to trade Casey Middlestat to Colorado for Bowen Byram. He's not involved in the decisions to cut Jordan Poyer, Trey White. Yes, he's in on it, but he's not the one making those decisions. So owing us an explanation, we've heard that before. We've been in this position, in the very least for the Sabres, through the entirety of his ownership. So I'm not quite sure what more Terry could offer to us that we don't already know. What we know is what is taking place. The Sabres are not good enough. The Sabres are the youngest team in the National Hockey League, and they look like it on the ice. They look young. They look inexperienced. They look like they're a team that lacks physicality because they're playing against men with a team full of kids. So am I really shocked by the Sabres and them not making the playoffs or them, being on the outside looking in at this point in the season? No, I'm not. Am I shocked at, some of the regression on the ice from guys like Tage Thompson, from guys like Darlene and Tuck? And, yes, I did not anticipate a season like this 1 year after being 1 point away from the playoffs. But at the same time, Terry Pegula is not going to be the guy that's going to fill in the gaps that have not been filled. Don Granato clearly is not the guy to do that in terms of asking those questions as the media has and filling in those gaps. Kevin Adams has told us really all we need to know about why the Sabres are where they are. And Kevin Adams is, in my opinion, more to blame in terms of not making enough moves in last offseason heading into this season to really make the Sabres that much better. You're 1 point away from the playoffs. You didn't go out and you didn't make the moves as aggressively as I would have liked. Connor Clifton, Eric Johnson, those moves did not work out. Eric Johnson's playing for a different team already. So, those are the questions that Kevin Adams should be asked and that Kevin Adams can answer rather than Terry. And I will throw out there that, I know, as I mentioned, I understand that the fans are frustrated. I'm frustrated myself. But I'd be quick to point at Terry Pegula for all the reasons I've already stated, as well as the fact that Kim Pegula is recovering from, a health situation that he is tending to. He has a sick wife that he is tending to. So I'm not really one to throw the blame at Terry as quickly as most, understanding that and knowing that. I just feel a little funny about pointing the finger at Terry as much as I would Kevin Adams, Don Granato, Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott. Those are the people that Terry has entrusted and hired to run the teams and to run the teams efficiently and to get the teams to where ultimately he wants them to go just as much as anyone. As we all know, the owners want the teams to do really well. When the owners own teams that do really well, they make more money. So ultimately, I'm sure Terry is just as frustrated as anyone, as any fan, that they haven't gotten to where they needed to go. And I think that there's plenty of reason to look at that and say, frustrated at Terry, frustrated over the whole thing. But to say that Terry's the one that should be answering the questions, I'm not on that boat. I'm not on that train. I'm not in that car, whatever analogy you want me to use. I'm not on that team. I don't know what answers Terry could provide that are any more valuable than those of the people that he has put in charge. That's all I'm saying to that. So I don't necessarily see how that aligns. I thought the article was a good article, but I didn't feel like it really made a whole lot of sense in terms of what we know already. What we've experienced already is asking Terry those questions and not getting the answers that we want. Really, the overall landscape of both organizations is that they have massively underachieved with the talent that they do have, especially in the case of the Buffalo Sabres. And in the case of the Buffalo Bills, they're always going to be competitive as long as they have Josh Allen as their quarterback. Football, very different from hockey. Much a quarterback-driven league, whereas the NHL is a whole different science, right? So I'm not happy with where the Bills are at. I'm not happy with where the Sabres are at. I look at this and I say to myself, it is what it is. It is what it is. We look forward, we move forward, and we get from point A to point B somehow, without placing blame and pointing fingers at the owner, who is a businessman. He's not necessarily a sports guy. He is a fan of the city of Buffalo, supports Buffalo, put a lot of money into Buffalo, is a fan of the Sabres, is a fan of the Bills, wants the teams to do well to prop up the community, prop up the region, but he's not going to know, who to draft in the first round. He's not going to know who to sign to the biggest contract. I would hope that those decisions do not fall on Terry Pegula, and to my knowledge, they don't. So why would I feel the need, in my position, if I was in the room, to then ask Terry Pegula the questions of why are we in the situation that we're in? He's the owner, he's running things, but he's not involved at the level that most people think. So that's my take on that. Thank you so much for tuning into this live YouTube video from the Jeep. Kind of different, but hey, wanted to get on this and hop on it any way I could. Greatly appreciate those that have tuned in, and I'll be sure to share it on my Facebook, my Twitter, at Ryan Thomas Take. Please feel free to follow me at Ryan Thomas Take and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you.